every day with summer for me and you. Days stretched out ahead forever, yellow and blue. A Hollywood house, open top cars, a lifetime ago. Now it's all here in a battered shoebox. It overflows. 10 years of us, you packed it up, left it at my door, and all there is left of us is at the door. You didn't stop to say hello or see my face. You left me with these photographs and nothing to say. You dropped it all off in this battered shoebox and slipped away. 10 years of us, you packed it up, left it at my door, and all there is left of us is at the door. I know we had a fairy tale life before the rug got pulled away. Old hurts are only whispers now. The history of us can never really change. 10 years of us, you packed it up, left it at my door, and all there is left of us is at the door. 10 years of us, you packed it up, left it at my door, and all there is left of us is at the door.
Hello and good evening and welcome to Don't Stop the Music. My name's Peggy and I'm your host for the next hour. The song you just heard is actually from our guest this evening, which was called At the Door by Amanda Easton. And we are taking questions. So if you do have a question for Amanda, you can text us on 07900 171 433. But without further ado, let's say hello, or should I say good morning to Amanda, because she's actually in Australia. So good morning. Hello, how are you?
I'm just going to turn you up a little bit here. You're all the way on the other side of the world. So
Yes.
that's
That's it. The other side of the world it's a huge place, but with the wonders of technology, we can talk to each other.
Oh, I love that.
We have already had our first text in as well. So this is from John Payne. Hello, John. And John says, good morning, Amanda. As we just said, you're in Australia. He hopes that you have the coffee on, and he thanks me for playing. You do. She does. I can actually see it in the screen. And he actually says, thank you for playing my favorite song first. So he really enjoyed that song, At the Door.
Thank you, John. Nice to hear.
So I'm going to go straight in with the questions. And what was the inspiration behind that song?
Oh, we're going for the jugular straight away with this one. This one, a few years ago, my mum called me and said, why did you leave all that stuff on the doorstep? And I didn't know what she was talking about. I said, what stuff? She said, you've left a box of your stuff, your photos and your, souvenirs, all sorts of things. Why did you leave them at the door? And I still didn't know what she was talking about. And it wasn't until I went around to her house that I had a look. And it was indeed a box of my photographs and all sorts of souvenirs from the last 10 years of my life. And there was only one person who could have left it there, and that was an ex-boyfriend. And so I figured that was his way of saying, that's definitely it. I don't want any of your reminders in my life. So you can imagine this was from a very long-term relationship, and we'd broken up a few years before. So I figured he might come across all this, said, okay, I don't need that in my life anymore. So it was kind of heartbreaking for me. It's a bit of a heartbreak song.
Oh,
so it's amazing how many people attract to that song because they can relate to the heartbreak.
Oh, I think quite a few people can relate to heartbreaks.
Yes, unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, we all go through that. Now you've got a new album that's just been released called Wallflower, and we are going to play the actual song Wallflower at the end of the show. What was the inspiration behind the album?
Well, I had started writing the album, like the song you just played, early this year, early in 2020, a little bit late 2019. But when COVID hit and we went into isolation, probably around the same time you guys did, about mid-March, it left a lot more time because I lost all my work. All my singing work, of course, just went out the door. I had a lot of time for thinking, and I really appreciated where I was, not the COVID bit, but where I was in that I, got to make a full-time living as a singer, and, the music that I had. And I thought back to when I was maybe early teenage years, when I lacked a lot of confidence and I didn't really know what I was going to do with my life. And I, like a lot of teenagers, I didn't feel like I fitted in. And I felt like telling my teenage self, it's okay, you'll get there eventually. I was a wallflower, which, people that know me now might find it hard to believe because I seem to be quite outgoing, and I guess I am now, but it's to get there. And so the whole album ended up being almost a dedication to my younger self. It's okay, you will get there eventually. You'll turn into something you'll be happy with. You'll have a great life. Don't worry. You won't stay shy forever.
Oh, that's a really nice, actually, yeah. If it's quite freaky, isn't it, how people would love to go back and tell them their younger selves that, look, this is not how it's going to be. You're going to be fine. But obviously at that time, you don't feel like that.
No, and I have an 11-year-old son, so he's not a teenager yet, but I hope I remember what it's like in a few years when he's a teenager and I can, talk to him and he'll listen.
I've got a son, he's 23 next month, actually, my boy. And yeah, when he was a teenager and things like that, and you're like, when he started hitting things that you did when you were a teenager, you're like, oh yeah, I remember doing that. I can't really overact. I did that. And yeah.
Exactly. Tricky times.
We have had another text in, and that was from Chloe. So hello, Chloe. She says she loves your accent, and it was and what a brilliant song to open up the show with. So she really enjoyed it as well.
Thank you, Chloe. That's so sweet. Peggy-Sue, I'm loving your accent. Obviously, I can't hear your callers. I'd love to be able to hear their voices.
I know John and I know Chloe. I've spoken to them a couple of times, and I have to say that we've all got our own very own accents to ourselves, I think. Even though we're all from roughly in the same area, we all have our own accents.
Oh, I love British accents.
And so the next song we're going to play is called Stolen. What was behind this song?
Well, I hate to sound like I only write breakup songs. This was actually the same boyfriend.
Oh.
Oh gosh, this is when we first broke up. So this was years before At the Door, and it's that feeling. It was a long-term relationship, which is why it's been a treasure trove for my songwriting. Oh my goodness, but it's definitely a sad song. And if you listen carefully, you'll actually hear me shedding a few tears at the end. When I was recording it, I got a little bit overwhelmed, and I said to the producer, "Oh, let's just redo that." And he said, "No, you can feel the emotion. Let's leave it in there." And so now every time I hear it, I'm transported back to that time. But, oh goodness! I mean, it's interesting. The title "Stolen" first came about because I heard a different song on the radio, and I can't even remember what song it was now, but I could hear the chord progression in it, and I loved it. And just to be clear, I'm sure you know that, but you can't copyright chord progressions. But so there are hundreds of songs that actually have the same chords, and it's only the melody and everything else that's different that makes it original. But I heard this song, and I actually wrote down the chord progression because it was so beautiful to me. So those chords are stolen, even though you can't actually. So that, the friends and the house and even the animals and all the memories you keep, it feels like the rug gets pulled away, and that gets stolen from you.
Yeah. Well, in that case, I'm going to play "Stolen" now for our listeners. So here, this is "Stolen."
Been such a long time, but here you are on my mind, like back in another time, before we got left behind. I write a blue melody to remind you of me, so that the heart in me won't weigh so heavily. I know it's too late today, and I know I walked away, but I was just hoping you'd tell me to stay. I know it's too late today, but I felt I had to say, I never wanted it stolen away. The calendar hanging here still says it's July last year, before the change in the weather, when things were much better. Please don't get me wrong, things couldn't go on, and now that they're said and done, the world keeps on spinning on. I know it's too late today, and I know I walked away, but I was just hoping you'd tell me to stay. I know it's too late today, but I felt I had to say,
So that was Stolen by Amanda Easton, and Amanda's joining us via Skype from the other side of the world in Australia. Hello again, Amanda.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Well, thank you for agreeing to come on, because like I said, for us here, it's now like 20 past 8 in the evening, but for you, it's 20 past 7 in the morning.
I got to say, I haven't seen this time of the morning for quite a long time. But that's fine. It's good to get a start on the day.
So with that one, I have to say the song has that nice, even though it's a breakup song, it's got that melody to it that you can have it on in the background as maybe in a film or in a TV series. Have you ever thought of doing any music for maybe film or TV?
I have. The only, definitely an area that I'd like to hear my music. I always think about, the music videos and everything when I'm writing this song. So I like to think that there's a visual aspect to it. But the only time I've ever really had a song in anything was when I've written songs specifically for, actually there's a show recently called A Troubled Town, which is like a mini series that's on Amazon, and I wrote the theme song, which is called A Troubled Town, and I've written for documentaries and a couple of smaller films as well. So it's music that I've written specially for something that, not my music that's been taken into a film, but I'd absolutely love that. I'm a massive fan of sci-fi and James Bond and all of that kind of thing. And people say they can often hear that in my music. So that would be a dream come true, having one of my songs in a movie like that.
I was going to say, I think one of the songs we're playing this evening, or in your case this morning, is is actually going to. It does sound like it should belong in a Bond film.
Oh, let's hope that happens one day.
That would be amazing, wouldn't it? They heard it here first.
Yeah.
So, if you could open a show for anyone, who would it be and why?
Oh, gosh, there are so many choices. Do they have to be alive?
No.
It's a strange question, but some of my idols unfortunately aren't with us anymore. I would say David Bowie would be my number one. I mean, I do like plenty of living artists and bands as well, but I think David Bowie is one of my biggest influences and icons, and I've seen him in concert a couple of times, and his music obviously I adore, but I love his theatricality and his stagecraft, and I think opening for him would be amazing.
I have to say, I agree with that. David Bowie is amazing. And actually, I would say, because I can see you on the screen, the way you're dressed, I would say you're his little China girl.
Ah, yes. And that was filmed in Australia too, that film clip.
And I have to say, I quite like David Bowie and Labyrinth. That's one of my favourite films.
I'm a really big of him as an actor as well, and actually in my last EP I had a song called Man Who Fell to Earth, and that was dedicated to him, and I wrote that after he died, because even though I didn't know him personally, it actually really hit me, his death, because he has been such a big influence on me. I've just always loved him.
Well, we are playing that one in a couple of songs time.
I didn't even know that. How good is that?
That's it. There you go. So the next song we have is Dance to the Music in My Head. And I must admit, I'm one of those ones that I can start bopping along, because I've got like an earworm and start going along with this song. So I think that title may give it away. Is that the influence behind that song?
Well, there is a little bit of a story. I backing vocals with an artist in Australia. Originally, she's from Canada, who's very well known here. Her name's Wendy Matthews, and she had a really big hit with a ballad song that she did, a beautiful love song. And I was doing backing vocals with her at a concert one day, and looking out, it was always one of my favourite moments, that I would look out into the audience and everybody would be swaying with their eyes shut and, really getting into the beauty of this song. And I grew up with this song. So for me, being on stage with the actual artist who was doing it was just, always one of the highlights of my life. And this one particular concert, that song started playing, and I looked out into the audience, and one person was actually dancing like they were dancing to a disco song. But this is a beautiful, soft ballad, and everyone else was swaying and getting into it along with the, you know, the rhythm of the song. Except one person was just doing practically break dancing, and I had to hold back the laughter, you know. And the song is so heartfelt, and I didn't want to laugh, especially because I'm on stage. And I looked at the piano player, and he noticed it too, and we both had to just look away. And I wrote down after that in my little songwriting diary notes thing that I keep, she was dancing to the music in her own head, because she certainly wasn't dancing to the music we were playing. And like a lot of my songs, they kind of morph into something else and generally end up reflecting something that's happened to me. And, you know, I had pretty bad medical diagnosis at one stage, and everything is totally fine now. But at the time, you know, I was really living in my own head, and I felt like I could relate to that person. Sometimes the world around us doesn't fit with what's happening in our own lives, and we tend to kind of retract and go into our own heads. So yeah, there's a lot happening in that song.
Well, here he is. This is Dance to the Music in My Head.
Come here, join me. I can see it frightens you to look into my deepest blue, but I'll be watching you from here. Comes down to this, I can see our Janet's twitch when I overload the switch here. But I like living here this way. Ooh, you know, ooh, they know, ooh, no one knows the way I dance to the music in my head. Don't pity, 'cause I hear this tune instead. But I hold a hurt so dear to me. Ooh, you know, ooh, they know, ooh, no one knows the way I dance to the music in my head. Don't pity, 'cause I hear this tune instead. It delivers me from all there is to feel. Scared I could pull a shiv out from underneath of my coat, but all I have is my heart to hold up there to your throat. You swear under your breath you'll never sink down to this day. Ooh, you know,
So that was Dance to the Music in My Head. I have to say, Amanda, with that one, I think I can understand why the person was bopping away to their own beat.
Are you doing that there too?
There's a kind of hypnotic background to it that seems to make you want to bop your head slightly faster than the actual song.
Oh, wow. There you go. I like that. Thank you.
That's okay. We have got 2 more texts come in. One is from D, and D says, breakup songs work for Dido and Adele. So they're referring obviously to the first 2 songs we played.
Yes. Thank you, D. Absolutely.
And they also said, if you could do music for a TV series, what type would you aim for? Soap or sci-fi or something else?
Oh, sci-fi. Absolutely. I am such a big fan of sci-fi. I'm not saying I don't watch soaps because, I mean, they could use a breakup song or 2, right? So that would be good too. But if I had to choose, I've always been a massive sci-fi fan ever since I was watching Doctor Who with my dad growing up. So that would be where I'd go for sure.
I must admit, I'm quite a sci-fi fan as well. I do watch the things like Star Trek, Star Wars, Stargate, SG-1, Atlantis, and all that. Yeah, give me all those any day.
Yeah. What a great question. I love that question.
And John's text back in again. And John said, maybe one year we could see you in the UK, maybe including the Blondie versus Pretenders show.
Yes. Hi, John. I would love to come to the UK. I mean, I actually used to come quite often, but obviously no one's going anywhere at the moment. But John's referring to a show that I do here in Sydney, where actually that's why I'm blonde. I had, I think I had green hair at last before I went blonde. I've always had kind of weird coloured hair, but I went blonde because I was doing a tribute show. Features Blondie and Pretender, and obviously I was playing, I still am, Debbie Harry, who is another one of my icons. I think if you ask who would I open for, or who was still alive, Blondie would have to be it. Massive fan of Blondie, and I love doing their material.
Oh, I can just actually picture you singing Heart of Glass.
Oh, what a great song. I love that song.
So the next song we are playing is Man Who Fell to Earth. And as you said, this was just after David Bowie had died.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's quite nice. And obviously that was part of the inspiration behind it. But what got you into the music in the first place?
Oh, you mean way back when I started doing music? I started singing. My mum is still a good singer. You know, she would sing around, she's never been professional, but she would sing around the house, and I always sang. And I actually, it's funny because my mum would always say, oh, Mandy gets her musical talent from my side of the family. But I found out a few years ago I'm actually related to Sheena Easton, which is obviously the same surname I have, which is on my dad's side. So it comes from both sides. So, I mean, there was always a love of music, certainly in my family. But from the age of 3, I was singing. And even though I've been telling you I'm a wallflower, or was, I still had, I don't know, people say, you know, where does the singing come from? And even though you can trace it back to your history through your family somehow, it always felt like it was something bubbling up inside that I had to do. You know, it always felt like when I went to, you know, school, kind of preschool when I was 3, and they put on a big pantomime, and they asked if any of the kids wanted to sing, and I was, you know, jumping up straight away. Yes, I want to sing. So even if I was quiet and shy in other ways, I think that's where my expression came out when I would sing. So I loved it from early times. But my family always kind of tried to shepherd me towards a more academic career. And I actually was at university studying communications and journalism. And even though I do love that kind of thing too, it wasn't really ever where I really wanted to be. So I got actually a corporate job working for Microsoft, and doing their internal communications and journalism related stuff, writing basically. And I was always doing music on the side, and eventually I just took over and I thought, what am I doing? Whose life is this anyway? I really want to do the music full time. And so I left my big corporate job and just jumped in. And I've really, it hasn't always been easy, but luckily I'm not an overly materialistic person, so it's never been about the money for me. And I've just loved it. It's just the best life, the best job.
Oh, brilliant. That sounds fantastic. And it just shows that you can follow your dreams.
Definitely. And, part of me was thinking when I was at university, I'm already on this track now. It feels like different. I mean, even though that's kind of where my parents wanted me to be, I'm not blaming them. You still make your own choices. And, there's certainly been times in my life, I got an amazing job after university at Microsoft, and so many people were like, wow, you're working for one of the biggest computer companies in the world. And I got sent overseas, and, I knew my parents were proud of me. So all of those things make it harder to kind of go, yeah, but I don't want to do it. In the end, you have to. And I was lucky I had enough people around me that said, you just got to do what you want to do. I got to say, most people around me didn't. Most people around me said, oh, it's very brave, which is a nice way to say stupid of you to want to go off in a different direction. But, I'm glad I did in the end. Absolutely.
Oh, brilliant. Well, this one, and we're now going to play, is Man Who Fell to Earth.
To me in French and Italian, I held you to my chest and then I pinned you to for more. You give to me your sweet science fiction, the needle drops again and then you open up the door. You broke me when you left me, even though we never met. I hope the man among
down to earth. And I have had a text message and I have to agree with them. A lovely Bowie tribute.
Oh, thank you.
And you can hear the actual inspiration, I think, of like where he's life on Mars and
Yes.
and Major Tom as well. When you're listening to it, you can just hear it.
Well, that's good to hear. And actually, if you look at the lyrics, there's a few of his songs and movies kind of woven into the lyric as well. So really big Bowie fans should be able to pick that up. And I noticed that I think it's a British and versus Australian thing that you say Bowie and I say Bowie. Who knows what's right, though? Probably you're right.
I really don't know, actually. Yeah, because I've always said, well, I suppose also it depends on whereabouts in the UK you're from as well.
Yeah, and probably a little bit like that in Australia. I mean, I don't know. My accent's obviously very Australian sounding to you, but there are people that speak even more Aussie than I do, you know.
So the next song we're going to play is Girl in the Song. So where did the inspiration for this one come from?
As usual, a couple of places. So I actually got given a book by a friend that is called Girl in the Song, and it talks about a whole lot of really famous songs that feature girls' names, and so many, right? You know, from Gloria to Angie to, you know, so Peggy-Sue. In fact, as if you don't know that, right? As soon as I saw your name, I'm like, oh, what a fantastic name! And you automatic songs that your name has been in. And so this book talks about the backstory of all the songs that, you know, famous songs that feature girls' names. So that kind of gave me the inspiration to start with. But there was a particular time, and I hope this doesn't sound, I was sitting in the audience and somebody I knew, you know, reasonably well was singing a song, and he was looking at me as he was singing it, and it felt like the song was about me.
Oh.
And I don't know if this is just my vanity, or he was doing a particularly good job, because really you want people to be able to relate very closely to what you're singing about. And I think, you know, I can tell the story of my song, but once somebody hears it, it could possibly become part of their own story. That's what we want as songwriters, for people to, you know, take your songs into their heart and have it mean something to them. And it doesn't matter if what it means to them is something completely different to how it was originally written. So I guess that feeling is all tied up in it, but I think there's a little bit of a stalker feel in this song that, you know, am I the girl that you're singing about?
So this is Girl in the Song.
While you're singing about her, you don't see the crowd of 1,000 people here. Truth can be heavy. Is this your way of telling me you want me? Singing
in the song. And I think everyone can relate to at least one song where the whole thing they think it's about them. And
That's not just me then.
I I just think that there's always something that happens in life. There's some situations, and you listen to a song and you think, oh my God, that's exactly how I'm feeling. So yeah,
Yes.
I do think that, and that's a brilliant song as well. So thank you. So what have you got planned coming up? Have you got any gigs or any tours or any albums coming out? I know you've just released Wallflower. But
Had my way, I'd release an album a year, but it's really expensive. I mean, that's the only thing that really stops me. I have started writing new material, so I'm hoping, late this year, early next year, there'll be more. But yeah, hard to say. I mean, as far as gigs go, we're lucky in Australia that gigs are here again. Apparently, it's only 20% of the industry is back, but certainly I've been very fortunate that probably 80% of my work is back. So I've been gigging 3-4 times a week, but most of that isn't my original material. I would have, in a normal world, I would have done a big launch for this album earlier, because the CDs are out and the music's being played, so it's all happening. But I haven't done a launch event. But I actually ended up getting signed to an American record label for this album, just for the vinyl.
wow.
And vinyl takes a lot longer to produce, and because it was an unexpected deal, whatever, that's not coming out until June. So what I'm doing is doing a big live stream and live event for people in Sydney in July 22nd. And it's a big multimedia event. I'm going to have, big screens, as well as a live band and a DJ, and I'm going to perform the music of Wallflower and probably a few of my older songs as well, and have actually a proper launch when the vinyl will be available. So, there's going to be a lot of work putting that together, as there always is, something like that. And this will be the first time that I've done a launch that will be live streamed as well. So I'm going to sell tickets to that, very inexpensive, I might add, because it'd just be nice to have people there, have lots of people. And even if you can't make it, at the time that it will be, because it's probably a terrible time for most other countries, it's going to be something that you can watch, for a few days. And so getting all that together is going to take up a lot of my head in the next little while. But I also do live streams, just free, like the way you're looking at me now, basically. There's a piano just underneath me here. And I would have played for you today, but through Skype it's very hard to make it sound decent. But I do a different setup every week through YouTube and Facebook and Twitch. And I love doing those live streams. There's a lot of chat, and there's, just lo-fi, just piano and me versions of covers as well as my own songs. And, this would never have happened if it wasn't for COVID, I don't think. And in the beginning, I was really quite nervous about it. It felt so intimate. I mean, I'm much more comfortable on a stage where, all the production is there and I've got people around me, and that's actually easier than, you're looking right into my little studio here and it's just me and the piano. But I intend to continue doing those every week. And,
brilliant.
I mean, I hope I continue to do them after COVID too. And I only say I hope, because if people aren't interested anymore because they're not in lockdown anymore, then I guess I won't. But from my point of view, I would.
Well, we've just
really enjoying that, and it's a bit like you and me now. You just get to talk to people from all over the world. It's amazing.
That's it. Definitely, especially all over the world, the other side of the world.
I just love that. It's the best.
Well, John's just text back in, and he actually says, "I love your live streams when I remember to stay awake." And he wants to
appreciate it, because particularly for the UK, it's tricky. We are about to change time zones here, which hopefully will make it a bit easier.
So are we. We're about to go an hour forward.
Oh, well, that will mean we'll be the same then.
Yeah.
Because we go an hour back. I get so confused by that whole thing, but it actually might work out in our favour, because I think at the moment it's about midnight your time that I start. but hopefully, the time change will help. Anyway, I don't know. Facebook will tell us. If you join my Facebook page, it comes up with the event, and the time is local to you. So that's lucky, because I can't tell people what the time is. I get so confused by the whole daylight savings thing.
Actually, that was my next question, is how can people find you? So they can find you on Facebook.
That's where I tend to /Amanda Easton Music. And Easton, as I said earlier, is the same as Sheena, and I'm sure everybody knows how to spell her surname. So Easton. But I mean, I've also got all my links up at my official website, which is just amandaeaston.com. But I'm everywhere. I love Instagram and Twitter and Twitch and YouTube. So yes, but Facebook is probably my number one.
I think Facebook has become one of the main social media, same as Instagram, especially during lockdown, because it has helped keep a lot of people in contact with other people. And sometimes it's actually got them to contact distant family members who they haven't seen for a very long time. Because of COVID, they're now talking to each other.
And I love that, that they get a lot of flack, Facebook, but I think I love it. I think, every day I'm using it and getting to talk to people that I might never have even met. I think it's fantastic.
So we are going to go into our last song just before saying goodbye, or to say just after we said goodbye to you. And this one is actually called Wallflower, from the album Wallflower. So tell us a little bit about this one.
I actually had the idea of the album before I had the song.
Mm-hmm.
So, the whole idea about dedicating it to my younger self, who used to be shy, a bit of a wallflower. And I thought I better write a song called Wallflower, because you can't just have the idea and not the song. So it was the last song I wrote for the album, and I wrote it kind of quickly. And it's funny because it's ended up being probably my favorite song. But I think it ties up all the songs together in the one theme. So it talks about how, you can take a rocket, but you can build a rocket and travel into space. It's a little bit girl power, although it's not meant to be only for girls. It's for people that feel like, there's a lot in them, but they're maybe too shy to let it out. So, of course, it is a song to my younger self, but I'd like to think it's a song to anybody who's got a bit of a dream and just needs a little bit of encouragement to get there.
Oh, that's quite nice. Well, thank you so much for joining us, or should I say this morning for you and this evening for us.
Yeah. Thank you. I can't believe an hour's gone by.
I know.
It's been fun talking to you. Thanks so much.
You're welcome, and it does go so quickly. But thank you so much once again. And to take us out, this is your song, Wallflower. Good night, everyone.
Don't worry, little girl, you'll bloom eventually. Your time will come, and you'll be colorful and live the life you hope for. In your heart secretly, you can build a rocket and travel into space. Just need to make a start. You can move away to display your scarlet feather. Wallflower, 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 wallflower. Remember how you felt in a dress not meant for you. You're grown up now. Don't underestimate yourself. Let them tell you you're not special too. You can build a rocket and travel into space.
After the news, it's the Rolling Record Show.
On FM, online, and on your mobile. This is Swindon.